here. Moon, I think it's just, it's sort of void, of course. It's void. It was in Libra. It's going to move into Scorpio soon anyway. Anyway. Just had to get a couple of things off my chest. Oh, those are little glass hummingbirds hanging from the ceiling. What can I say? It's also, I'm not going to say predictable, but again, everything is exactly as it should be. How is that so? Why is it so? It's because it can't be any other way. Okay? The planets are what they are. They do what they do. They don't, it's not offense, it's not defense. They're not good, they're bad. They are just entities that do what they do. I think it's fantastic. I love watching videos about astronomy and outer space and what's going on with, our little solar system. You're probably aware of all the crazy stuff with volcanoes, earthquakes, storms, natural disasters, of course. Right now, China is being slammed so bad. It's unfreaking believable. I mean, it makes you feel like there's something really horrific that has been designed from above, to punish China and the Chinese people and the leadership. But it's really just the planets doing what they do and people doing what they do in accordance. That's all. And tragically, from my perspective, from the little bits and pieces that I study and learn about China, is that there was a time where it was very beautiful. Lots of nature, not so many people, floods, fires, hurricanes. Well, I think they call them typhoons over there. I'm not sure. And then things change. I mean, they've been around for thousands of years. It's always been a very closed environment. They've dealt with so many different empires and emperors, and now it's the Communist Party since World War II. And the latest leader, Mr. Ping, has gone absolutely berserk. Insane lust for power, money, and control. And we, the people over there in China, them, the people over there, they can't take it anymore. The economy, the country is just, it's frightening. It's really frightening to watch. You don't see it anywhere on mainstream over here. Nothing, not a squeak. You see big things like, oh, Mr. Ping is in a suit going here, going there, doing something really important, trying to take over the world. Meanwhile, the country itself is imploding real time. They're issuing more debt bonds faster than the speed of light. It's like trying to pay off credit cards with credit cards and with more credit cards. Because you can. Right now, they still can. So that's what they're doing, but it's just leading to devastation for their economy and their people. Anyway, I got my little notes. Donald is up in Bozeman, Montana tonight, right now. And he's doing one of his monster rallies. Of course, they love him up there, It's an easy state for him. He's just really there to try and secure a win for somebody in the politics up there, conservative type. Yeah, but it's interesting when you follow the gossip and the drama behind the scenes regarding the latest, incident. He just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. The more they try to take him down, the stronger he gets. And there are people who, I don't know, it's getting a little bit religious, but it's like it's become very obvious to certain people from their opinions that this guy, Donald, has some kind of magical force. You've probably seen the video about the American flag and how it got distorted during the time of the 13th of last month. And it looks like this beautiful angel in heaven. Quite something. Now, here's something that I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. It makes my writing look backwards. Is it backwards? Can you see that? I don't know. I don't trust the camera here. But there's a little tiny astro doodle I made a while back. Hello, Christine. You can actually read it? Okay, good. So you see this little doodle here? It's a teeny tiny miniature Terra Lumination astro doodle. And these squiggles, okay? Okay, that's the Pisces. That's Saturn in Pisces. That's the up-and-coming Venus in Virgo. And over here, it's the Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. Well, guess what? Hello, Love Driver. This little thing here, this little squiggle, that's Mars. This squiggle, that's Jupiter. That's sitting right on top of the Donald Sun, Mercury, Uranus, North Node in the 11th house of We the People. What that tells me is that Donald is now supercharged like a dragster with nitrous fuel injection in warrior attack mode. And it's happening in accordance, divinely harmonious, very, very powerful, the most powerful conjunctions, powerful transits of all, or alignments, right? The conjunctions, they're sitting right on top of him. It's supporting him. The planets are supporting him during these incredibly challenging times. It's basically working through him like an energy field, which just dramatically increases his power and his ability to basically attack with maximum unpredicted, unexpected power and force and effect anything that is fake that needs to be cleaned up. Okay, the reason I'm saying that is because of the massive T-square that is building up. Pisces, Virgo opposition. And instead of becoming a victim of the Pisces, Virgo opposition, hard squaring onto the Mars, Jupiter stuff in Gemini, the reverse is happening. It's the Mars, Jupiter in Gemini that is forcing and pushing all the light and the power onto the stress points of the Pisces, Virgo opposition, basically exposing and calling out using language, words, Gemini, communications, rallies, meetings, Truth Social, X, to call it out, exposing the squalor and the fraud that's actually happening here in America. It's mind-boggling to watch when you see how beautifully it aligns with the astrology. Hello, Victor. You're here for the astrology. Don't worry, I'm not going to do any private readings. I'm just trying to consolidate my own energy. I'm just kind of struggling with the energy right now. It's very, very hyper for me personally. It's like I'm doing this because it's helping me normalize. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. If you missed this already, Victor, you can rewind it and see it, okay? But it is quite remarkable. For me, as an astrologer, I think it's beautiful. I think it's just beautiful. And it completely condenses everything into this extremely annoying, frustrating, enraging polarity of yes, no, right, wrong, good, bad. People don't like that. They want to be able to give themselves permission to be kind of ambiguous because people don't want to think. They don't like to think. They just want to kind of go, yeah, I've heard of Trump. He's kind of wild, isn't he? Kind of out of control. He's a megalomaniac. And then other people would say, he's blessed by God. And then other people would say, he is the Antichrist, and so on and so on. Okay, you make up your own mind. A lot of people don't like to think. The brain uses astronomical amounts of calories. People don't like to do that. New Jersey. You live in New Jersey? I'm famous. I called the crash of the day. Yeah. Okay, so let me get on with my little notes here. I got to cover this stuff. We're going around the world. Over in Europe right now, Dr. Steve Turley is over there right now, swirling around. He's having a fantastic time visiting Nice, Monte Carlo, Corsica. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Mallorca or Venice in Italy or something like that. And he's been talking about the amazing surge of what I would just call common sense that's starting to percolate throughout Europe, because a lot of the Europeans are watching what's happening in England. Beautiful little old England, the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. The UK is in very, very deep doo-doo right now because of the riots. You know, the riots and the protests, they're calling them, between the people in England who are sick of the people who are not traditionally British. Let's put it that way. The people are sick of it. This has been going on for decades. Remember, I used to live there for a long time. And even when I lived there was a small but growing population of people that definitely did not fit the British profile, if you can imagine the British profile. They tend to be very white, and they tend to be very proper. And it's an Aries nation. They can become extremely pugnacious if something stirs them up the wrong way, okay? And so, yes, Love Triber, what's happened, you probably noticed, is that the British government has decided to censor social media. Because social media is guilty of spreading misinformation and stirring up whatever it is, rhetoric. Of course, that gets blamed on Elon, Mr. Musk, and his beautiful, wonderful ex. So I think it's funny. It's actually very tragic, because in England, I don't know if you know, but they don't have a constitution like we do. They have laws, but they don't have the First Amendment. They don't have a Bill of Rights. There's no Declaration of Rights for the people. None of that. So the government just does what it does. It's like a sort of feeble extension of the monarchy. Anyway, over in Europe, that's the world capital of the World Economic Forum and all the crazy globalists trying to build a new city in Geneva that's just for the world elites of the elites, so that they control the whole world from a new place. I think, is it Davos, or a little place near Davos? Problem is, they're building this place out while the whole globalist agenda is imploding. Yay! I was never a fan of the globalist thing. I thought it was very, very fake, phony, suspicious right from the top. They've been going at it for years, decades. Yeah, we got the Constitution. We got that. It's very, very hard to shut down Elon over here in America. It's very, very hard to shut down our First and Second Amendments. In fact, it's very hard to shut down the Constitution. Very, very hard. And the communists that are trying to take over this country are starting to realize it's not going very well. They're trying very hard. They're using every trick in the book, which is basically mostly the fuel that they're enjoying. I need to make another doodle. They're enjoying the fuel. Let me make this very simple. Right now in the heavens, Okay, I'm just doing this live real time. So we've got the Pluto in Capricorn retrograde up there. We've got Neptune in Pisces retrograde over there. And we've got Uranus in Taurus over there. So you see this doodle right here? That's the big ones. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Those are the impersonal planets. They are so far out in our solar system that we don't feel them as an everyday energy. Like when you feel a coronal mass ejection, or when the moon shifts, your moods and things change. With this Pluto, Neptune, Uranus configuration right now, it's very big, it's very strong, it's very slow moving, and it's very, very supportive for the elites, the commie elites and their buddies to continue their attempts to grow and amass all the power and the money and the control that they can possibly get at any one moment in time, because I think they've figured out this is historical for them. If they don't nail this down now, they are going to be eradicated. If you want to see what eradicated looks like, watch what's happening in China. The Chinese Communist Party, which is basically looking like a parallel version of the administration we have right now, and the two people, Harris Walls, who are attempting to be the extension of the existing administration, it's basically an extension of communist China. And people are starting to figure it out. And they're thinking, wait a minute, I don't think I really want to be that way. I don't want to live in that kind of world. But you have to understand, when you've got that much power, that much money, that much control, and you own all the global corporations through BlackRock, Blackstone, State Street, Vanguard, Fidelity, Berkshire, whatever it is, and you've got the United States Federal Reserve, and you've got Washington, D.C., the Treasury, and all the CIA, the Feds, the FBI, the DOD, the CDC, all working as one communist team. They have a lot of power, and they're using it. And the most powerful tool is deception, betrayal, lies, fraud, propaganda, mind control, and disease. And it's working. Hello, Christina. Oh, hello, Christina. Thank you. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. So Dr. Steve is in Europe right now, having a wonderful time, and he was pointing out in very joyful, gleeful terms how many, many parts of Europe are basically saying, to the globalists, to all you freaking commie lefty weffers trying to take over the world and tell us what to do. All of you monsters trying to force us to eat bugs, lab meat, take away our farms, take away our culture, take away our friends and our families and our rights, and turn us into useless eaters. The people are starting to figure it out. And they're saying, actually, no. And they're starting to get violent in order to get their message across. Yeah, so it's funny, over in England, the government's trying to sue Elon and shut him down. It's pathetic. And by the way, the same thing is happening over in Venezuela. Maduro is trying to shut down Elon, basically close down X in Venezuela for offending his rulership, offending the rulership of the supposedly elected Maduro. Insanity, okay? Another communist country. It's really terrifying because I have friends and family in England, and some of them live very, very close to the danger zones where a lot of violence has been happening, so I'm kind of scared. Oh, Love Triber's got a point. Oh, yeah, she sent me those links. There's a bunch of ambulances inside the White House right now. There you go. I'm going to put this thing over here. Next thing I wanted to go to was, of course, one of my favorite things, global finance. Yes. Now, in one way, I'm kind of immune and lucky because I can't play any of their games. You have to you have to have some chips to be able to place those kind of bets and play around in their market. But there's no harm in observing. So, what I'm sensing right now is that because there's no other option for the global central banks to do what they're doing besides what they're doing, it means they're going to continue to print, print, print more and more and more and more currency. They're going to jack up interest rates, lower interest rates in a perpetual war against the dollar. The dollar is doing what it does to get its maximum advantage across the world. It pumps money, it slows down the pumping, it drastically increases the flood of money, and then it's like running a faucet, interest rates up a fraction, interest rates up down a fraction, and a lot of words blah, 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 coming out of the mouth of Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell to trigger the markets. And it's amazing to know how trillions and trillions of dollars are sitting there waiting for Jerome to go, that's the interest rate, possible rate ride. And then Janet Yellen is like, we can take care of everything. Don't worry about the debt. You don't have to worry about that. Ah! So anyway, the United States dollar and the Federal Reserve, they play the game. Interest rates up, interest rates down. Quantitative easing, printing money or less printing money. But either way, it's all based on debt. So they have to perpetually provide debt, provide loans. So the way they keep the mechanism going is that because things are actually very, very bad in the American economy and it's being propped up by, I guess, illusions, what they're doing, the Fed is actually vacuuming up all the bad debt that is on the books of all these very unstable banks, the biggest and the biggest and the biggest of the banks. So it helps to make it look like the big banks are actually stable. But it's still highly corroded, and it's like trying to stop an avalanche, okay? So they're working to stop an avalanche, but the downward pressure is inevitable, okay? So in sections of it, you've got the recent thing with Japan and the United States dollar, which is what triggered the massive crash we had last week. Oh, yeah, about a week ago. And there's been a bit of a rebound, but if you watch certain indicators like I do, the rebound isn't anywhere near fractionally close to useful to get things to where the Fed and Washington and Janet wants it to be and the bank. So it's this massive unwinding of debt. Also, the same thing is happening in China, but on a much more astronomical scale. The yuan, the Chinese yuan, is trying to stay in the war, in the battle, in the game with the US dollar, fighting sanctions, fighting interest rates. In the meantime, their own economy is imploding live, real time. It's absolutely horrific, tragic to see what's happening there. China is in a free fall. So effectively, what you have is the whole world, all the central banks for all 140 central banks across the world use the same model designed by the United States Federal Reserve, printing money and dicking around with the interest rates. And there's no gold standard. There's nothing. The only standard reference point is the US dollar. So there's no real, genuine, authentic price discovery. Everything is make-believe. And with the issuance of such extreme debt, what it translates into is a massive theft from we the people in order to engorge the wallets and the pockets of the elites, basically stealing from the future. Even if it means the debt cows across the world All the 7.8 billion of debt cows are collapsing on their feet. The elites don't care because it's the only game that they know is to suck money, life force, energy out of you and reward it to themselves. And the only way they can do that is by issuing more debt. The more debt they issue, the worse it gets for us. The worse it gets for us, the harder it is to keep the game going, because eventually the debt cows just go, and then it's game over. And that's what's happening in China. So there's kind of an inevitability that this perpetual upswing, well, I should do it this way, it's going to keep going. The Fed is going to keep printing, but at some point, things are going to get very, very unstable, and the whole phenomenon of federal bank, fiat currency, central banking systems, and the debt-based economy is going to go through tectonic shifts, and in some way it's going to fall apart, break apart, and create a new environment, basically by leaving a vacuum, like tectonic plates. Let's either tectonic plates crashing into each other or tectonic plates moving apart. Either way, they create a new environment in which a new thing will evolve. And it's starting to happen. It's still very nascent, but it's effectively something, I hate to say it, but like Bitcoin and crypto world, maybe not Bitcoin, something else, but basically an equalized network rather than an extreme pyramidal structure. So that's going on right now. Mark your calendars. I'm calling a date. It's going to be, oh, did I do this already? Let me find Uranus. Okay. So what I'm looking for, it's not here. We're getting close because we're getting all the telltale signs, but mark your calendars. It's actually going to be next year in 2025. Whoever, it doesn't matter whether Trump is in office or not, whoever's in office, they're going to deal with this. Uranus is going to be at the crisis point of 29.5 degrees, hovering close to Gemini. It's going to be very, very close. It's going to be a long, slow process. And as it gets to the 29 degree, 29.5, 29.75 to the 0 degree Gemini, and then 0 degree Gemini to the 1 degree Gemini mark, it's going to be global financial chaos. I guarantee it. Things are going to explode. It's going to be just like a massive, it's going to be very hard to predict, but it's not a place where I would want to be. I would want to be well out of the markets and be somewhere safe. If I was some big shot player, if I knew how to ride those kind of waves, yeah. But those kind of waves would be the equivalent of those surfer waves in Hawaii where there's 60-foot waves. Most people wouldn't even dare to go in the water. But anyway. Okay, Global Finance got that. You all know about the wars in Eastern Europe. It's escalating. You know which ones I'm talking about. Vladimir versus Vladimir. And then you have the other one, the Jews versus the Arabs. It's just like, well, what do you expect? Anyway, it's all escalating. And I was watching some of the financial charts. God. It's so disgusting. It's so obscene. You've probably heard of Lockheed Martin, right? Lockheed Martin is one of the manufacturers for American Department of Defense, the Air Force. They build the F-16s, the F-22s, the F-18s, the F-35s. These are the most powerful fighter jets in the world. And we're really, really good at it. And it's very, very expensive. You know, to buy a set of nuts and bolts to build part of an F-35, it's probably $20,000. To get a computer chip, it's probably $100,000 because of government billing and overbilling and blah, blah, blah. So that's why the F-35 costs, I don't know how many millions to make one F-35. Anyway, that's Lockheed Martin. I believe they're kind of linked up with, is it? I don't know. Just forget what I just said. There's Lockheed Martin. You can go check it out on the charts. You go to TradingView or just go in somewhere and say Lockheed Martin stock prices. The Lockheed Martin stock prices are going like this. Once the news came out that all the F-35s and F-22s, F-16s are being sent over to Europe, and a bunch of aircraft carriers full of F-16s and F-35s are being sent over to the Mediterranean just across, parked just outside Israel. The Lockheed Martin shares went like this. That's because war is big, big money. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. War, money, war. Dead people, that's just side effect. It's collateral damage. What do you expect? Silly. I think I mentioned that. Okay. Another thing that I've been kind of enjoying is watching the lunacy of these Harris Waltz rallies. And in some ways, they look quite spectacular. You start thinking like, wow, she's really on fire. She's really, my God, Trump is toast. Trump better watch out. She's amazing. Yeah. So, yeah. And then there's Tim himself. Well, I've seen some really, there's all the talk about stolen valor and how Tim Walz, after 24 years in the military, basically decided, they actually want me to go shoot a gun and go to the war zone. I'm going to retire. I'm going to cash in and get my pension. Bye. So that's pissing off a lot of American people, especially if you're ex-military. So anyway, that's one of the scandals. And of course, there's enormous amounts of scandals coming out about Kamala herself, or Kabal. How does it come? Kabalama. I can't remember how to say it. Anyway, basically, Tim Walz is a communist. He's owned and operated by China, and Harris is effectively the same, only it's like there's a degree of separation. Kabbalah. That's it. Kabbalah. It's the Kabbalah. Anyway, there are things that are starting to leak out about Mr. Walz that are far more shocking than what we've been hearing already. And it's so disgusting, I can't even describe it. And you'd have to search it for yourself on X, okay? But it involves some, let's say, unconventional behavior between men and horses. I'm not going to say anything more. So it's what I see is with the same astrological aspects that are correlating with the implosion of China. It's the same astrological aspects, but from different perspectives, that are providing energy to the growth of common sense, what I consider common sense. Some people would call it nationalist populist movements. If you're a hardcore lefty, you would call it far-right extremists, okay? Dear Love Driver, it's much more grotesque than what you were talking about there. It's much more grotesque I can't really talk about it. Anyway, I'm just going to wrap this up in a minute. For myself, it's amazing to watch like a ticking clock, Mercury retrograde, and what it does and how it does it. It's like clockwork. Everything and anything that can go wrong regarding the Mercury retrograde themes, that's what happens. So for the last few days, right on the cusp, a couple of days before, right on the cusp, and now for a few days after, and for the next few weeks, I'm going to be dealing with car issues, maintenance, car issues, and things like that. But overall, one of the core themes, when I look at the Pisces, Virgo, Gemini axis, filters. What I notice is an intense emphasis on filters. And I realized, my God, there's filters everywhere. There's air conditioning filters, there's pool filters, there's automobile air inlet filters, and vacuum filters, vacuum cleaner filters, filters that are all designed to keep things clean and keep the muck out of whatever system we're talking about. And that's all I've been doing for days is cleaning filters. So if you look at the Pisces thing, no insult, nothing rude to the Pisces energy, but in the unhealthy expression, it's all the filth, squalor, disease, decay, the rot, the putrid stench that needs to be cleaned up. Hint, hint, Virgo. Virgo's just doing what it does. Venus is there, Mercury's there. Let's clean it up. And the last few days, the moon has been there. So that's three powerful Virgo energies opposing the Neptune. So it's basically, come on, TL. Got to clean another filter, fix another filter, fix more filters. So I feel like I am in divine alignment, even though it's stressing me out, especially the car, but I don't know, we'll figure it. I used to be able to do all that stuff, change the oil, do the filters, but I can't risk it anymore. I got too many health issues, and I've been there. I've done all that, and I don't really like sitting underneath cars. I don't like Victor. Okay, so Victor, you understand what I'm talking about. You understand the nature of the theme we're talking about. I see your notes there, Victor. Yeah, that's one of them, Tampon Tim. Yeah, we've heard that one. But this is really where, if you think of your name there, Kamala, okay, but apply that same theme to male on male, okay, and you include male with horse. And there's actually newspaper clippings about all this stuff. It's blah. Anyway, I guess on a positive note, take care of yourselves, everybody. It's a Friday night. Hope you have a good weekend. I'll see you Sunday, or maybe there beforehand. Just go with the flow. Ask for the healing power of love to fill your body, your mind, your heart, and soul from up above. Own it, and then you are now a custodian. You can now officially be an instrument of the healing power of love. See, you get it? It's a phenomenon. You bring it in as an energy field. You own it here, body, mind, heart, and soul, and then be loving, be loved. It's a formula. All right. So good night, everybody. I'm not going to do any Q&A or readings or anything here. I'm just going to wave toodaloo, bye-bye, no music, nothing. Okay. Take care. Bye.